Hey, it's Brian Terry, and you're about to listen to a part of a conversation that I had with Mark, who used the Disability Digest approval strategy to help get his friend approved in 6 months. He was the power of attorney for his friend. And in this conversation, you will learn how he used the segments of the disability approval course that we provide to fill out the forms and how to enter relevant information into the form. What are some of the key things that you want to put in the forms? And you'll get two examples from Mark about information that should not be entered into the form or provided for other aspects of obtaining benefits. Um, and the last tip that he provides is I call it the power of being prepared. Um, if you're not prepared going through the process, he gives some examples of what happens and what could happen to you. So I hope you enjoy this conversation. If you like the work that we do, please share it with others and join us in the comments below. This has been Brian Terrian from the Disability Digest. Thanks.
And all the videos and all the information that's out there for us to review and whatnot is very helpful.
Mm-hmm.
Someone
Mm-hmm.
who, who's brand new to it.
Right.
Um, and so I found that very comforting that I could just go out there and review all the documentation and all that stuff that you had.
Mm-hmm. So was there any particular lesson that stood out or videos um, that you found helpful?
How to fill out the forms and how to think about your answers.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I think there was one there where you had you did an interview with, I don't know if it was a lawyer or I think it was a lawyer that fills out the forms and going through each question um, and providing insight into um, how to answer that particular question and to remember your answers so that when you get asked a different way,
Yeah,
you
yeah. Like occasionally, seldom, never,
mm,
uh,
right.
rather than using, you know, long drawn out answers. That's good to know. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. And I don't know if you had this in there or not, but one thing that I learned through the process is that when applying or when filling out the form, it's as of that moment of the information that you have available. Not like for example, something that I learned, not necessarily from your documentation, but from working with the state of Minnesota and talking with people is that um, he was going, like I was working with someone who he was going to be getting disability, short-term disability income, but he hadn't received any checks yet. So they said, well, since you haven't received a check yet, then don't put that information on the application because it, it hasn't happened yet. Even though you know it's going to happen in a couple of weeks or next month, you know, don't take that into account by putting that on the form. So
Mm,
things like that that you know that may happen, but it's not certain because it hasn't happened yet. Make sure that you don't include that information on the forms so that um, you don't, because you could be providing misleading information because if you said, yes, I'm going to be, well, this is what it's going to be in the future, and then that never happens, then
mm-hmm.
you just said something that wasn't true. That
Sure.
could
Like,
harm you in filling you out the, form.
okay. Yeah. Like, for example, if somebody was going to take a part-time job making 200 bucks a week and it started next week and they're going through the application process and it asks them if they're working now, the answer would be no, they're not.
Correct. Right. Yes. Yep. Exactly.
Okay.
That's a good, yep, that's a good example.
Yeah, good to know. Good to know. Great. Any suggestions, advice that you'd be willing to share with other applicants going through the process that might relieve their stress, or people that are power of attorney? Anything that makes somebody's life easier that you can think of?
Uh, Well, from the state level, and dealing with the people there, I don't know if it's the same in every state. I imagine it might be similar. So like when you're filling out your forms and you're submitting it, that make sure you have all the information that you're going to be submitting up front before you submit anything. So like, for example, when I was trying to get him signed up for Medicaid from the state, I met with someone and we filled everything out and we sent the information in. And then they have a policy that once they receive the information, they have like 3 weeks to process and enter that information into the system. Well, then 2 days later or a week later, you know, they say, oh, we also need this bit of information. So now they have 3 weeks to enter in that new piece of information. So all of a sudden, you think that he's going to be signed up and he's going to get medical coverage to cover the gaps when he lost it from his employer. Now, it's going to be like, it could be like 3 months before he is now covered again with health insurance.
I want to make sure I get this. This is, if it's what I think it is, a fantastic tip. So if you're going in, you're going to apply for Medicaid,
Mm-hmm.
and you're going through the application process, and you have some of the information and not all of the information. That one or several pieces of missing information, Mark, provide the opportunity for the Medicaid services to have another 3 weeks to enroll, for example. Is that what I'm hearing?
Correct. Yeah. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
So like if he needed to, if your medical coverage ended and you didn't do COBRA or whatever because it was too expensive or whatever the reason you didn't continue on with your current medical coverage and you had to wait until you were signed up with Medicaid, there could be a large gap between when it ended and when it kicks in.
Mm-hmm.
And the other thing is so in Minnesota, I don't know if it's like this in other states, but they have Medicaid, and then they also have like 2 networks that you can choose from that you get. So you get the Medicaid network, but then you also get so in Minnesota there's like you can do Health Partners, Blue Cross Blue Shield, or I don't know what the third one was, and you can pick from those networks. And then the paperwork is, it says like if you don't send your paperwork in to choose what you want, it's going to default to X network. And so I read that and I said, okay, great, that's the one that they want. You know, I'm not going to send anything in. And then because I didn't respond, that was another delay in the process because they didn't start entering that information until 2 months later.
Mm-hmm.
And they said, okay, well, I guess we never received anything. Now we're going to enter that in. So little things like that, like I said, that's information that could have been provided up front, even though the forms didn't say you had to, but just to not delay the process.
Situations where people start a disability application online, they don't read all the requirements that they need to have, and they don't have their work history over the last 15 years, for example. They don't have their banking information, so their application sits there, and then it doesn't get completed, and so they have to start over again. So in essence, that case is denied because they didn't complete it. So no, that's good advice. I think it's just simply be organized and make sure you have absolutely everything you need before you get started so you don't have any delays.
Right.
Yeah, that's really cool. Good.